Welcome to Part 1 of Module 7, the initial team meeting and mobilizing the team. This seventh in a series of online learning modules provides an introduction to care coordination using the Wraparound practice model in alignment with the National Wraparound Initiative. These modules focus on providing an introduction to the practice model, wraparound facilitation skills and competencies to implement the model, and links to further resources for the learner about wraparound practices. The Butler County Family and Children First Council partnered with the Center for School-Based Mental Health Programs at Miami University to produce the learning modules. Please push the forward arrow on the bottom right to advance to the next slide. Here are the objectives for this module. Participants will learn to incorporate wraparound principles into the facilitation of first team meetings, understand the steps to guide teams through the initial plan development phase of wraparound to develop an initial plan of care, and assess resources and tools available to develop wraparound plans. After you have completed the discovery, let's review your preparation for the first team meeting. It is imperative that you do not wait too long to schedule this, as momentum is key in keeping families and team members engaged. The discovery prepared you for next steps because you know now the family's strengths and needs, their culture and how they make decisions, parent and communicate, how help works best for them, what their vision for a better life looks like, who is involved that could be assets on your team. During the discovery, you learned about the family, who is involved in helping them in different ways, their vision for what they want their future to look like, aspects of their family culture, be that parenting decisions, communication preferences, gender and developmental expectations, and possibly religious values, traditions, and other functions within their family. You also have had a chance to learn about who is involved in their lives, both formally and informally, and have had a chance to learn about the team member's perspective on what works for the family, as well as what needs could be addressed. In setting up for the first meeting, let's review the coaching targets for managing meetings effectively. You want to have an effective meeting space arranged, have spoken with and prepared everyone for the meeting, and have an agenda and plan of how you want to run the meeting, consistent with the principles of wraparound. With this, you want to plan to engage all of the participants in a comfortable, interactive environment, and assuring the members know what to do following the meeting. It can be difficult to get everyone together for the meetings. If you wait to find a time where all members are available, it could be weeks or longer. With the family, figure out the people that need to be there and then try and schedule your first meeting with as many people as possible. Over time, members can plan in advance and hopefully attend as often as possible. There are many important topics to cover during your first wraparound meeting. Ideally, you should ask the team to block off 90 minutes for this meeting. Later meetings generally last around an hour, but the first meeting has a number of tasks to complete. The first team meeting starts with introductions and setting ground rules of how the team will interact as they work together. There is the review of the strengths that were identified by the facilitator in talking with the family and team members. Then the team will review the family vision and write a mission statement of what they want to achieve while in wraparound. The team then is presented with a list of unmet needs identified by the facilitator through the earlier discussions with the family and team. And then the team prioritizes which ones to focus on that will help achieve the mission and decides on ways to track if the team is meeting the need. The team then brainstorms multiple options to meet the needs. The family, with the team's help, chooses which options they want to try, while tapping into the strengths that the family, team, and community have. The facilitator then secures commitments of who will start acting on the chosen options and addresses any foreseen barriers. The facilitator then can review any initial crisis plan that has been developed and updates it as necessary to include the team. The facilitator evaluates with the team how the meeting went and schedules the next one and discusses topics to be covered. It is important that the facilitator starts on time and keeps the process moving forward. Do not be discouraged if you cannot accomplish all of your items in one meeting, though. Schedule the next one within a week to keep the pace moving and for team members to feel as though this process is beneficial. Wraparound team meetings are a vehicle to getting real help for the family and developing a team of support for them. It is important that they feel this is happening, as the wraparound process is a means to achieving this. Now we will discuss further implementing the first meeting's agenda. Even though you have shared what wraparound is to the family and team members on multiple occasions, it can be a difficult process to fully understand until they see it in action. The first meeting gives you a chance to set the stage for how you are incorporating the principles that make Wraparound unique to other programs. At the beginning of this first meeting, you will want to briefly share an overview of what Wraparound is to the team. This should be a succinct explanation of Wraparound that you have developed after studying it and practicing your explanation. It highlights the importance of having an elevator briefing or a short explanation similar to the time riding in an elevator, where you can share what Wraparound is in a short period of time based on the audience in front of you. Take a minute to think about what you would say to a team if it were your first meeting about the process they are starting. Which of the following wraparound principles did you cover in some way? Was your explanation jargon-free and easy for all team members to understand? You also need to be brief, but cover the highlights, as the team is ready for action at this stage. The goal is to develop some common understanding of the wraparound process and provide enough information that they are willing to trust you to guide them through the next steps. Let's review another coaching target regarding the youth and family-driven process, as this is important to emphasize as you are establishing the team from the start. In explaining the process to the team, you want to prepare them for the prioritization of youth, family voice, and choice, and empower the youth and family to make decisions that work for them. You want to make sure the youth voice is respected and check in with them how it is going for them and honoring their perspective. Ideally, youth are always participating, but especially with older youth, they should be at every meeting. Let's see Sam's family that we met in an earlier module and the facilitator's explanation of Wraparound.
I wanted to welcome you all to the Gil and Tracy and Sam's first Wraparound meeting. This is the beginning team for the family to start their planning with, and so I wanted to start out our meeting with just kind of a brief overview of how Wraparound goes and who I am and what I do, and then we're going to move around the table and introduce ourselves and say who we are in relationship to the family and what we hope Wraparound will do for Sam and his family. So I'm Pam and I am the Wraparound facilitator. It's my job to bring the team together, to keep communication flowing, and to guide the team through a process that has been developed and is being done nationwide. And we do that through a series of stages. The very first stage, I went and got to know Gil and Tracy and Sam in their home, and I've written up a document that's going to help everybody else at the table understand who they are, where they've been, and what they're struggling with right now, and what their hopes are for the future. And then this meeting, we're going to go through that document. We're going to look at some strengths. We're going to try to figure out the behaviors that have brought the family to this table. What might be under those kind of that behavior? What is it communicating might be a need for Sam or for his family members for us to focus on and work around. We're going to set a mission and some ground rules to make our meeting go smoothly. Then we're going to move after this meeting into more of the progress monitoring and figuring out what's working, what's not working, what are we learning through this process, and just fine-tuning our plan. And then we'll also be looking forward toward the time when you can get Wraparound back out of your life and go on without us. So we'll be, all throughout the process, we're going to be looking toward that end, but we really get back together and do a focused transition plan.
After you have described what Wraparound is and what it isn't, briefly review what you hope to accomplish in this meeting, and then you can ask members to introduce themselves. Many Wraparound programs ask members to share what their role is on the team, as well as their hope for the family. You may need to model and help members along. For example, the parent may say their role is mom, but the facilitator should remind her that mom is a title, not a role. What does she do for her family as mom? This can also be a time near the beginning of the meeting where you may insert some fun activity that you have thought of to break the ice and get everyone engaged. It's up to you, but besides getting through an agenda, you are forming a team and people like to have fun. The next person on the team may introduce themselves as the case manager for the family. What are some possible roles a case manager could play? By asking each team member what their role is and their hope for the family, you are already seeing the connections family members have and which parts people are willing to play. This way, later in the process, if you see gaps in supports or if someone isn't opening up or volunteering to take on a task, you can revisit these roles and see who shared that which falls in line with what they do. The introductions can take 5 to 10 minutes, but it really is interesting and important for people to have their voices heard, especially with the hopes for the family. This information will also help you when you are working on your team mission statement. It also helps to see the family in a relatable way with hope and strengths, guiding the process. Let's look again at a clip of Sam's team.
So that's me, and let's go with you, Gil.
Well, I'm Gil, Sam's dad, and we hope to get out of this to understand where his problems are coming from and how to control some of his anger and, his problems.
I'm Tracy. I am Sam's mom. We had adopted him when he was 2.5, and I just thought I would bring that up, only because we didn't start seeing any behavioral problems until he was about 3rd or 4th grade. So my goal is to be able to see him succeed, to be able to stay in school, to get some help in our home where we desperately need it, from people that can tell us things better than, we try everything, and sometimes things just don't work. So we are hoping to be able to know how to deal with him effectively so he'll be happier, which will make the whole home happier, and for him to be able to function as well as he can, and for us to not have to end up in children's hospital so many times. So.
I'm Chris. I am a cousin of Sam. I'm just here to support the family.
I'm Cindy. I'm the support coordinator with the County Board of PD, and I started to work with the family to help connect them with resources and just be a part of this team to see what we can do.
I'm Miranda, and I work with the family in the home also from developmental disabilities, and my focus is more on just behavioral strategies, things that might work for the family in the home as well as for Sam in the home, and just everybody in the home, help things run a little more smoothly. I've worked with them for several months now. And
Do you have a hope for the family?
my hope is similar to theirs in that kind of understanding the behavior and what it might be telling us, and then what we can do about it, so that they have some real solutions, everyday solutions to making life better. I want life better for them.
And my name is Chris, too, and I'm also a cousin of Sam's, and I'm here to support the family.
Do you have a hope?
I hope that they find the successes that they need to make their family more happy and more cohesive.
Following the introductions, it is important to discuss briefly the issue of confidentiality, what can be expected of team members, and limits to confidentiality. Part of forming a group into a team is having shared understanding of expectations of one another and respecting the confidences of one another. Some teams use a confidentiality statement as part of the process. One tip to help with managing who attends and having all of the contact information in one place is to use a form like this. The next step is to establish ground rules for how the team will hold each other accountable to interact in the meetings. Ground rules set the stage for creating an environment where everyone can feel safe to discuss things, as well as establish an environment that is focused on the topic at hand and the common values important to the group. The facilitator needs to explain the purpose of having ground rules in making meetings more effective. By having ground rules, it creates a space for fair and equitable decision making. A mistake some facilitators make is skipping over the ground rules. As much as we would like to think that everyone can perform and manage themselves in meetings, the reality is that sometimes people do things that veer the process off course. The ground rules will help the facilitator manage conflicts and keep the team process going. A great way to keep everyone focused and on task is to ensure ground rules are made and followed. By developing them as a team, this impacts buy-in from everyone. Everyone then can assist in holding one another accountable, but the facilitator often has to take the lead to guide the team in having an effective meeting. Here are some ground rules we have seen in various wraparound meetings. What is said in this room stays in this room, unless issues of safety or need for supervisory input. Be on time. Call if running late. One person talks at a time. No shaming, no blaming. Everyone's voice is important. Family and youth voice must be present in all decisions. No meeting after the meeting. Discuss it where everyone can contribute. Be honest and share your opinion in a respectful way. Waste rule. Ask, why am I saying this? These are just some examples of ground rules. Ideally, as has been said, they will come from the group, as that will help everyone educate one another as to the values the team members hold as important and hopefully will be respected. In some groups, the facilitator may have to give an example or two to get the ball rolling. The ground rules will be revisited at every team meeting, so they can be added to as the team feels is necessary. Let's revisit Sam's team.
So we're going to talk a little bit about how we can make our meetings run smoothly and this to be a safe place, because though Sam's not with us today, we had to arrange this meeting at a time when he was otherwise occupied. The plan is for him to be an active part of his meetings, and we know that some of what we're going to be talking about might be difficult for him to hear. So we want to make sure that the meetings are safe and we can really talk about the business and get our planning moving forward in a real efficient way. So I would like to ask team members, you guys have all sat in on different groups and different teams. Are there ways and rules that you've seen have been helpful in the past to kind of create that safe environment and keep everybody moving forward?
You want it from us?
Anybody?
Well, we have discovered that by putting him, we don't have him in regular schools. He's not mainstreamed or anything. That we have found by putting him in St. Aloysius, which works with developmental, delayed kids and things like that. That seems to be helping him somewhat. but unfortunately they can't come and stay at our home all day, and he does have problems at school. So we have learned to kind of like, I hate to use this word, but pick our battles, try to work with him and understand where he's coming from, and try to understand the way he looks at things, because he doesn't look at things the way we do. And we just all get up in a happy mood, and we don't know what he's going to get up like.
So maybe you're thinking, keeping in mind the team members should keep in mind
Yes.
Sam's viewpoint and
Yes.
and his feelings.
Right, yes.
The other thing that we tend to talk about because we are talking about these difficult behaviors in wraparound, is we don't want to blame or shame anybody who's involved either in doing the behavior or reacting to the behavior. Instead, we want to kind of keep things down at that kind of neutral level of what is it telling us? Is there something underneath that we can try to meet in a different way? And another thing that I want to make sure everybody understands is this is a confidential meeting, and everything is kept confidential. We try not to have meetings outside of meetings. We try to do our planning here so that we all are on the same page. And the only exception to that is you are in a room full of mandatory reporters, so that's the only exception to that. So any other rules that we can think of that might be helpful?
Well, we ask him, why he's angry, and he gets up angry. He gets up mad. He don't know why. And, we try to, work with him on that, but it's hard to work when you get up and everything's going smooth, and he gets up if, like his sister's eating his cereal. Mm-hmm. It's not his cereal, it's cereal at the house, but it's the kind he eats, so it's his. So that ticks him off. He's gone, and he can go from 0 to 100 in 2 seconds.
Is it going to be helpful for Sam then to maybe be able to take a break in meetings when he needs it? Do you think?
I would definitely recommend that, yes.
Okay.
And in addition to that, when I've been working with him,
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I notice that maybe might be helpful in our meetings is if we all speak in a calm tone with Sam, that is helpful in, I know we can't prevent all of the times when he gets angry, but I've just noticed that keeping a calm tone helps to make things go a little more smoothly. So I wonder if that might help in our meetings. What do you guys think?
Also, along with that, I'd say maybe just being aware of staying open to new ideas or open to suggestions, and even modeling that for him a little bit.
One other thing, when he comes to meetings, I hope it will be okay for him to bring like his iPad or iPod or something like that. A lot of times, especially when we're in therapy sessions, or he is, if he has something that he can have in his hands and he doesn't feel like that he is the focus of attention, he will answer your questions, but he's not forthcoming with, he will not tell you about himself or anything. He probably would even deny a lot of things. But he likes to have something to fidget with or something to keep him occupied. So if that's okay for him to do that, that would help a lot, is for his communication and participation.
And when he answers you, he might not even look up.
Yes. So you have to kind of understand his personality. And he's not being disrespectful or anything. That's just the way he functions.
Once ground rules are established, the next step is the presentation of strengths. Different wraparound programs address this part in several ways. In some programs, the Strengths, Needs, and Culture Discovery Narrative and Strengths Inventory is shared with all parties prior to the first meeting. This gives each team member perspective and new ideas about the family. Other programs may not have a strengths, needs, and culture discovery narrative to share before the first meeting. Either way, this is your opportunity to highlight the family story. You may want to recap what you have learned and review the strengths that will be used to build their plan. This is your chance to set the stage for developing a shared perspective of the family. It helps the facilitator build trust with the family and provides a common understanding with the whole team. With this understanding, teams often move to a more empathetic place concerning the family. Additionally, it models using a strength-based perspective. Regarding the strengths inventory, you don't want to read a list, but point out ones that stand out to you or ask others what ones they see particularly stand out. Let's revisit the Smith family. The Smith family loves doing things together as a family. The family enjoys camping, boating, and playing games together. Sam generally does well during those activities and feels included. The extended family provides Tracy and Gil with lots of emotional support. Gil and Tracy have gained support and guidance by being a part of the foster adoption support group. Jody provides Tracy with good emotional support and practical guidance. Gil enjoys fishing and going out to eat with his friends, which helps him recharge his batteries. Sam does best with few words and in quiet places. Sam is comforted by light touches and loves to cuddle with Tracy. Sam enjoys fishing and going out to eat with Gil, and is a way for them to have their guy time. Sam has been able to choose to go to a quiet place with minimal prompting and can calm himself. He enjoys looking out the window at trees. Sam can pause and make a good decision if the activity he is engaged in is motivating to him. Sam enjoys following visual, schematic instructions and can put complex Lego objects together without assistance. Let's listen to Pam introducing the family and their strengths to the team.
So, Sam is 11, and he's at Moore Intermediate School right now. He loves to fish, and he says his favorite is to catch green bass, and he usually outfishes the entire family. He likes to play cards and board games. He can win or lose pretty gracefully. He enjoys playing basketball, riding his bike, and eating Chinese food with his dad. That's a favorite activity that the two of them get to do together. He also enjoys visiting the aquarium and going to baseball games. He loves to swim and play school with his sister Maggie. And he can use his tablet, his e-reader, to help him kind of calm down. He loves to cuddle with Tracy, and he play wrestles with Gil a lot. So he lives currently with his older brother Jeffrey, who is almost ready to move out on his own, and his sister Maggie, and then his parents Tracy and Gil. They've lived in their house for 20 years, and they call their house Socialville. So it's kind of the gathering place. They're very connected to their community. They have been foster parents for many, many children. And two of those children that they fostered were Maggie and Sam. And they decided to adopt them. Maggie and Sam, when they came to live with Gil and Tracy, were pretty young. They did have supervised visits for a while with their mom, and they have actually 3 older siblings, too, who have families of their own, and they live in the area. So they have Gil and Tracy have a really large range of children's age. So they have grown kids, grandkids. It's just a huge extended family that loves to get together and work and play together. They go camping and boating, and they like to see movies together. Gil and Tracy have both been very involved in the local foster care support network and are very connected to helping others kind of be a part of that network and understand the supports that are needed for foster parents in the community. Gil enjoys eating out with friends, playing games on the computer, and fishing, and Tracy is into crocheting. That's one of the things that she likes to do with her friends. Both of them have lots of other support through the church system, and they really are hoping that Wraparound is going to help Sam learn to manage his anger in more appropriate ways, stay in the home, not have to be hospitalized so often. So as some of the people, some of us have noted that Sam does have some real specific needs, but we also know that Sam does really best with structure and routine. So that is a real strength for him, and when he has that around him, he tends to be much more successful. He also does best if he has kind of a place that's quiet. And if he's kind of getting upset, reducing the words. Tracy and Gil have noticed that's been very helpful, and I think, Miranda, that's been something that you kind of been working with the family on. He loves gym and he likes math at school. That's a strength for him. He also loves to play basketball. He's played with the Upward basketball team. He's able to accept criticism in that area from the coaches. He follows the rules, he listens, and he is able to accept the consequences. That is an area that I'm hoping the team can kind of utilize and build on, because he struggles with that in the home and sometimes in the school setting. So looking at that is, why is it that he can do it in this place, and how can we help him be able to do it elsewhere? Gil and Tracy are really willing to learn new things that are going to help their family. Maggie she's like a social butterfly. She's got lots and lots of friends. They're over at the house all the time. So Sam does have regular time to be able to interact. I think sometimes he struggles, maybe when Maggie's attention is with her other friends. She's a real nurturer, and she loves to read. She writes nonfiction. She's quiet, but she loves to go camping with the family. That's all things that has been noted. Sam is comforted by light touches, and he likes to cuddle with Tracy. He enjoys fishing and going out to eat. And he's been able to actually, in the hospital setting, kind of choose to retreat to a quiet place with minimal adult prompting, and just kind of calms himself by looking out the window and looking at the trees kind of blowing around. So I think he connects well with the outdoors. Tracy's an amazing advocate, and she uses her voice thoughtfully. Another person who's not currently here today, who is going to be a part of this team, is the parent partner, and that's Linda. And then we've got some other people who are being kind of pulled in as we go, and one of those is Bill has been here as part of the Wings group, and he's been working with trying to help Sam build up his skills and just with the family relationship. And then Brianne is coming on board through the DD service, through something called a START, which is a kind of a mental health / developmental disabilities focus. So we're hoping that by her coming on board, we're going to kind of be able to meld these two areas together. So as you can see, the family's relationship with their church is very important. Sam does really well there. He attends worship regularly. He has a great relationship with the pastor and his family. There's just a lot of strengths that the team is going to be able to use. We are going to be building our plan off of these strengths, because in Wraparound we know that a plan built from strengths, especially those that are helpful to somebody who's trying to do something.
A common pitfall for reviewing the strengths is having the facilitator read each bullet point. Doing this loses interest of the other parties, and they may start to stop paying attention. Telling stories, paraphrasing the bullets, asking others to chime in, addressing team members' quotes can all be used to keep others engaged. Saying, "I had no idea how good Sam was at Legos until after I talked with his aunt." He is able to create new items completely on his own and without step-by-step directions, show his creativity and ingenuity. If done right, the strengths list should be upwards of 30-plus strengths, with many of them functional, as referenced in Module 6. It should include not just family strengths, but those of the team and the community. This will help affirm team members and engage them in offering varied forms of help and support, especially if they include not only formal strengths, but personal aspects they have that help build connections among the team. You will want to bring these lists to each meeting, as the wraparound plan, crisis plan, and transition plans all will be built around the families and teams' unique strengths. This is also a chance to ask other team members if they want to add to the list. The list should be ever-changing and evolving, and should include all members of the team over time, not just the identified youth. If a team member sees his or her name as someone who is able to help Sam calm down when upset, or someone who is resourceful in grocery shopping and saving money, they are more likely to want to stay involved, as they see their roles and expertise as valued. Let's look again at Sam's team.
So now that I've got everybody here and we kind of understand a little bit more about how the strengths are going to work, one of the things that we love to do in Wraparound, and is part of the necessary part of the process, is to build up our strengths list. As we go through some of these things, like the one where Sam's able to play basketball and accept the criticism, we see that as kind of a strength that's in a certain context. And as I said, I'm hoping that through our planning we can figure out why is that working in that one place and expand it out so it becomes much more of a strength. So hopefully we'll be turning some of these into stronger strengths, but I'm also hoping that we discover strengths as we go along. I also know there's strengths I have missed. So I would like your help at this time to please let me know what strengths you are aware of as a team that I might not have already picked up on.
I think one thing I've seen in meeting with the family and with Sam is that Sam has kind of a great sense of humor, and I think that helps when, he's trying to engage with new people. I also think it helps him kind of reduce the stress of maybe a stressful situation and provide some comic relief, and but mostly help him interact with different people at school and the different people, the friends coming and going from the house. And
anything else?
I think one of the things with Sam is just his passion for his interests. He is a real delight of the things that he enjoys.
If you want to put Legos in parentheses there, that's a big one, and he's very, very good at it. He actually takes the Legos, he looks at the picture, and he doesn't like the way the picture looks, so he takes the Legos, puts them all together, and it really is better than the picture. How he can do that, so his mind is very...
I lost the second part of what you were saying. He's very passionate, and then you said something about how it might...
I can't remember.
Sorry, I just Legos came to my mind, and I thought,
his interest. I mean, just
sharing them. Is that what you were talking about? That he likes to share them with?
I think he really takes an interest in them, and so it is just something that gives him a lot of pleasure.
Pleasure. That was it.
Okay.
Thank you.
And it cost us a lot of money. Legos are not cheap.
And they make them for
But then when people say, what does he want for his birthday?
Yeah.
Legos.
But he's got a box of them. It's 3 foot long, 2 foot high, and 2 foot wide,
He does.
full of Legos.
That's
So
what
I don't know if you have it up
Uh-huh.
there, but that creative piece, being able to look at something and then create something different is a skill, and that he has the patience to do that.
I mean, you know, he's 11 years old, and he's got a game called Minecraft,
Yeah.
and he has built Ohio State's football field with the stadium, the concession stand, with all the menus and everything, parking lot, handicap parking places,
On the computer.
on the computer.
Wow.
And to look at it, you'd
Yes.
say, this is Ohio State. And then he done Fairfield High School. Perfect.
But he can't get his clothes from the floor to the hand. Trying to figure that one out.
He has better things to do.
That's right.
It's too far away.
So another piece that we're going to be building on as we go through here is just discovering more strengths about this team too, members of it, how we can plug in your strengths to support the family and get to where it is that they dream of.
As we talked about in Module 1, building on strength connects to the theory of change. We know change is more likely to occur and sustain by tapping into our assets, successes, and strengths. We grow as professionals by working in fields we feel good about. If we were told tomorrow we had to be professional athletes, engineers, or doctors, most of us would have some serious anxiety. The same holds true for youth and families. Asking them to do things they don't feel competent in doing is stressful. Asking them to expand on what they are already good at is hopeful and doable. Congratulations! You have completed Part 1 of Module 7, Initial Team Meeting and Mobilizing the Team. In Part 2, we will continue with facilitating the initial team meeting.